So I have a story to tell about the Star Wars role-playing game that we're going to be getting to in the course of this video. This might be a slightly longer one, but I have things I need to say because it's a funny little story that gets us to where we are today. But here's the crux of things. Um, I played this a few times. I played the Star Wars role-playing game a few times in the 90s. Vaguely remembered it. Hadn't thought about it in years, and in the course of the conversation over the last week around the OGL 1.1, we've been talking about other systems and everything else, and I remembered this game. And my brother and I have been contemplating playing some tabletop with my nephew who's never played tabletop before, and he's 7 years old. We're pretty sure he's ready to start sinking his teeth into stuff, and he's a Star Wars fanatic. So this came into my thought process the other day, and we've been talking about it. But in the talking of it, I went back and looked it up because I hadn't touched it since probably 1999 at the very first Star Wars celebration in Denver all those years ago. Um, and that got me digging online. I'm a back in the day, I was a Star Wars fanatic. Now I'm just a fan. I like Star Wars. I'm of the opinion that all Star Wars is good Star Wars. Some Star Wars might be better than other Star Wars, but at the end of the day, I love it all. Just like I love all the Star Trek and I love all. I don't get upset with these little things that people get freaked out about in terms of the show did this and they didn't follow the lore and whatever. I just enjoy my franchises. What I didn't know, and this surprised the hell out of me, is that I did not know that this was ever as big as it was. And this is coming from someone who has read the Thrawn novels 3 times all the way through, maybe four over the years. I just did one when I got my Kindle Reader like a year and a half ago, and I've read quite a bit of the extended universe stuff, Legacy, whatever they call it these days, when they were coming out, like the Bounty Hunter series and the Jedi Academy series, and Han Solo series, and all the Thrawn books and all this stuff. And I never knew that there was this. I just remember I had the Star Wars role playing game sourcebook, and I played homebrew with my friends. We just made up our own stories, and I never knew that there was this bigger world of modules and campaign books and all this other stuff. So then I start going online over the last couple of days in the course of just digging back into all of this. And I find out that they've published, somewhere in the ballpark of like 140 books over the course of its run. And it was so authoritative that when Timothy Zahn was hired to write the Thrawn novels, I guess it says here in the wiki that it says when he was hired to write what became the Thrawn trilogy, he was sent a box of West End Games Star Wars books and directed to coordinate his writing with the background material already developed in the role-playing game. Then, after the novel trilogy's success, West End Games created a series of source books inspired by Zahn's work. And I just sat here and went, how did I get to 43 years of age? I'll be 43 on the 16th, so I'm almost there. How did I get to be early 40s, call myself a Star Wars fan, and I did not know that this was a thing. Like, I've been doing tabletop my whole life, but admittedly, I've stuck mostly to, Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance stuff. My only sci-fi dabbling ever was with the Star Wars role-playing book, and I had the revised. It would have been the second edition, I believe. It's probably in storage somewhere, to be honest with you, with all of my Timothy Zahn books and the second edition AD&D stuff I have at my sister's house in Colorado. But anyway, I said there was going to be a story around this, and there is a story. So here's the story. Well, there's two stories, but I'll tell the first one first. It had to have been 1999 when the Star Wars Festival was taking place. We lived in the area, so my buddy and I went. I was dressed up as Qui-Gon Jinn. He was Darth Maul. We got front page of the local paper because we were in full costume. Waited overnight. We were the first people in line, and we were just crushing people at Star Wars trivia for like 18 hours leading up to the film. We saw it every showing the first day. I think it was 12, and because they did the midnight showings, and then the next day it was either 9 or 12 showings we both went to in full costume. Like, we were hardcore Star Wars fans. And when the festival happened, we went, and I remember being in line at the toy store, for the toy store, where I was about to blow like $700 on Star Wars Legos and books and stuff. And I met these guys in line, and we were all talking about this book, about our experiences playing the Star Wars role-playing game and how much fun it was and everything else. And then that got us on the conversation of talking about D&D and tabletop and Dragonlance and some other stuff. And then they mentioned, "Hey, have you played this new video game that came out? And it's like an RPG, but it's set in an online 3D environment." And I'm like, "No, what are you guys talking about?" I'm like, "Well, it's called EverQuest." And it had only come out like a couple months before the Star Wars festival. And so I immediately left from this conference and went and got a copy of EverQuest, and that was my beginning of my journey into MMORPGs, which have become a pretty big part of my life over the years, admittedly. Um, but I find it amusing that here I am, 20 plus years later, 25 years later, maybe, close to it, and having not played this game since then, and looking at it now as something I'm going to be playing with my brother and my nephew, which is the second part of this story because um, about 2 years ago, my brother and I were looking into those little D&D books that you can get for kids. It's like a 4 or 5 pack in a slipcase cover, and it's just full of art and everything else. And he ended up getting that um, for his son, and he just loves those books. He's 7 years old now, and he's just loved those books. And he's been watching us play tabletop every Sunday night for a couple of years now with our own tabletop project and all the other things we do and the building of a tabletop game, building of a video game. He read Harry Potter when he was 5. So at 7 years old, he's a really intelligent kid. We've been playing Minecraft with him every Saturday night for like a year and a half now, and he's obsessed with Minecraft. Like he's bought all these books with his work money from the ranch and his allowance, and he that's his thing. Minecraft is his jam. But he did recently ask about, I think it was about a month ago, if maybe we could do some tabletop stuff. And that got my brother and I thinking about, okay, well, how could we do, what would we do? Would we do an official campaign or something homebrew, etc.? And then in the course of all the conversations, the OGL 1.1 stuff sprung up. And it got me thinking about this. And this kid is obsessed with, I mean, as much as he's obsessed with Minecraft, Star Wars is like right up there. Might be a close second, but he loves Star Wars. He loves the wrong movies, but that's okay. I love him anyway. Like Last Jedi is his favorite movie of all time at 7 years old. I will forgive him for that because again, all Star Wars is good Star Wars, even if some Star Wars is better than other Star Wars. Um, but then I started talking to my brother. I was like, dude, I did not know that there were 100 plus books on this and all this other stuff. So I found a website apparently that has all their PDFs and stuff in digital format for the West End games, and I've already picked up some of these things and been reading up on them and thinking about things and looking at all the tools that are available to run really cool adventures off of a D6 system, which is something that I've only vaguely remember because of the years ago and I haven't done it in a long time, but we're both in agreement that this is going to be what we're going to be doing with my nephew very soon. So I would say, if you want to be tuning in for that, I don't know that we will live stream those episodes, but we will definitely record them and publish them in some way, shape, or form here on the channel because I think it'll be cool to see. A 7-year-old's perspective of teaching him to do tabletop for the first time. We may be joined by his sister, my little 4-year-old niece, from time to time. I don't know if Chris will join us or not, but it'll definitely be my brother and I and his son, my nephew. So stick around for that. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Support with a super thanks. Don't go forget you can also do super chats on these premieres. I'm usually hanging out in the comments section. You can also join as a member. 3 different tiers below. There's a Patreon page for our own tabletop world and fantasy book series, point and click adventure game, Discord, all the good things. See you next time. Hopefully you'll tune in for some Star Wars fun, everybody. May the Force be with you.